Welcome to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Jones. I am a certified personal trainer, and I'm here to help you achieve your fitness goals without pain. In each episode, I'll share tips and strategies that will help you stay safe and pain-free while you're working out. I'll also interview experts in the field of fitness and pain management. So if you're ready to learn how to stay active and pain-free, then subscribe to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast today. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Jones. Today, I am joined by Jen Oliver. She is the Director of Operations and Athlete Manager at Switch for Good, where she thrives in organized chaos and leads with purpose. A former Division I collegiate golfer and professional women's cycling team captain, she brings decades of experience building and guiding high-performance teams to her work with athletes. A lifelong endurance athlete and committed plant-based competitor, Jen helps Switch for Good's athletes navigate the demands of training, career, and life, mentoring them to cultivate resilience, confidence, and alignment in both performance and purpose. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dana. It's great to be here.
So tell us, I'm going to tease you a little bit because I know when we had our little pre-meeting, you were like, I'm not really an expert. So I'm gonna make you throw down all your creds so that we know who
Okay.
you are, because you are a athlete. And so I'm sorry if you were an athlete in college. I find you to be an expert in what you know.
I
So please
appreciate
share
that.
more.
I really appreciate that. Yeah. Just a little bit of my background. Been an athlete since I was thrown in the pool to learn how to swim. And I currently consider myself a passionate adventure and thrill seeker and multi-sport athlete. In my history, I've coached cycling for kids. I've coached golf for kids. I've been, obviously you said I'm a former collegiate athlete, former professional cyclist. I'm a national champion. I feel like I've done every sport and always looking for that next adventure. This past summer, I decided to pick up trail running and did the Stand Hope Challenge. And I did like a 30K with 5,000 feet of elevation in the mountains and, shot for some crazy PR. And just always pushing my limits and pushing my body, which I speak from experience for people, which is why I appreciate being the athlete manager at Switch, just to bring people in a great community here with our dairy-free athletes.
So what drew you to support Switch for Good? Because they were there before you, so you were drawn to them. So
Yeah. So my best friend, Dotsie Bausch, is the executive director, and she started Switch for Good. And I was working in the sports world. I was working for a large sports manufacturer, and she needed someone to help her with some events just to kind of get the word out there, go to a couple marathons, and help athletes talk about the ability to go dairy free and feel good and maybe improve your performance and just to try it out. So when your best friend calls you and asks you for help for a nonprofit, I just said, what do you need? And dropped everything and helped her in that journey. And since growing Switch for Good, it's drawn me. My why has become even bigger because I've seen the people who we've helped and getting a personal email saying like, oh my stomach feels better since I've dropped dairy. I don't have as much phlegm. I'm getting a little better performance because I've put more plants into my diet. So when you really start helping people, the why just becomes stronger and stronger just to continue to reach out to people and improve their life and health and performance.
why do you think organizations like yours are important?
Well, organizations like ours, like Switch for Good, is important to share the science and to share our knowledge. Like I give the example, like I grew up in the days of milk does a body good. And so as an athlete, I was always like, okay, do my sport and then, it's time for chocolate milk and throw the chocolate milk down. And, oh, I need more protein, more protein. Like, oh, I don't know how to get it. Okay, let's do cottage cheese. Let's do milk. Not knowing, like, I thought that having like um, just a bad belly or like a little bit of phlegm was just kind of part of like, oh, it's allergies or like that's just part of sports performance. Maybe it's too much sugar. And realizing when I ditched dairy that like my feelings and recovery improved. So Switch for Good, we get out there in the community, which, we're just sharing our knowledge. We're sharing the science that we've researched and not marketing to you the way like other, fast food does or the dairy industry does. We're just saying like, hey, try this. We provide resources. We have an RD on staff. We have a chef on staff. So for people who want to try it and ditch dairy or go more plant-based, to have an organization that is as open and kind as we are to reach out to and friendly, that's so important for people who want to, improve their performance.
Well, and I think it's fantastic because there were times like I was gluten free for a little bit, and this was all based off of me trying to figure out my headaches and stuff. So I did a lot of things, and there's not a lot of resources for anybody who's different than the average bear. And it sucks because if you don't know how to fuel properly, especially either being plant based or even choosing dairy free, is not terribly difficult now.
Hmm.
Probably 15, 20 years ago, it was hard just because a lot of the bars were based in dairy and now you're getting more like fruit and nut mixtures and stuff like that. But in terms of fuel, like fuel for endurance athletes sucks. Again, it's getting better, but it still sucks because it's still sugar or it's dairy. Like those are our choices
There's
for long rides or for runs or whatever it may be. And then even like post race food is like, here's a pizza. It's like, cool, thanks.
Yeah, true
You know.
story. Yeah.
And I know like it's hard to when I was gluten free, so I started trying gluten free probably in about 2000, and that was a nightmare because there was nothing. And so I was having a hard time because I wasn't getting carbs. So I didn't know what to eat and I was trying different things. And, yeah, there's only so many beans you can eat and stuff like that to get carbs from. But I really struggled and I noticed like I had horrible energy and just because I wasn't having a balanced diet. And then, of course, you throw in something like where someone can't have dairy. And it's like you're really bringing their window of opportunity to a thin line, right? Where you can't really eat anything that they're offering at the rest stops or
Yeah.
whatever. And so then you're at your own mercy to carry all your fuel. And, if I'm running 50 miles, that can't be fun.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. Yeah, you do. I do notice like when and we'll just take the example of the run and how it's the last competition that I did. And one of the fueling choices at 15, it's a 30K, so 15K in the halfway point was cream cheese and bread. And I was like,
No,
that's an
really?
interesting combo. So
That's gross.
right. So I was thinking like we talk about the dairy, just being dairy free and thinking about what, you want to fuel your body with. And you think like a good example right now is how every women's marathon is promoting milk for women. But when they go run through, they're not drinking milk, right? So when you think about like, oh, what do I want, in the race, or what do I want to eat when I run or when I'm, getting fueled at the station, I think the last thing that you are gonna wanna grab for is anything with dairy in it, which
Well,
is
I drink milk and I can tell you that would be disgusting.
right. So
And
so
that's not something even as I finish a race, I'm like, "Oh, let me
that I
have
want
some
milk.
milk." Yeah, I mean, I want something cool and refreshing or hydrating, and I know milk can be those things, but
Mhm.
it's not the first thing I grab for.
So these are in things that we answer, like, when we have when we go to, like, the Chicago Marathon Expo or the New York, Marathon Expo, people are like, "Well, what do I drink? What do I do?" And they're actually already doing dairy free. I mean, we did have one guy to the booth, he says, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I totally drink milk before I go to a race because it cleans out my system." Knowing that he's gonna have to, like, run to the toilet before he just because that's what the dairy does to him. When you look at it as an athlete standpoint, it's not really difficult to go dairy free because you're already wanting premium fuel, and premium fuel doesn't really have dairy in it. And you minimize your sugar, for you or someone has to minimize their gluten. So as far as the Switch for Good athlete program that we have and that I manage, it's just helping, people are already coming to that conclusion. We just kind of help them a little bit more along. Like, hey, go take, you need to eat every 30 minutes if you want to do a 30K. And here's what we suggest, pre-hydrate, take a goo, do, bits of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and just have, a bite, like a quarter square, and just, mentor them through their fueling, which a lot of people just always have interest in. And a lot of people don't read the packaging that there is dairy in a lot of products. If you look at the science, 65% of the population is lactose intolerant. So if you offer dairy-free options to your athletes, you're actually satisfying more of your race group with dairy-free items.
Well, and it's great that you all are talking about quantity too, because I don't know. Well, as humans, we don't pay attention to the labels a lot of times
Hmm.
because we're just like, my friend said this is good. Okay, whatever. And even like I've changed a little bit of my eating. And so I was eating these protein chips
Hmm.
and all, or they were pretzels. And I was like, oh my God, like I feel like I'm just like slinging trying to get these down because I wanted the protein. And then all of a sudden I looked at the back and it's like, yeah, half a bag is that amount of protein. And I'm like, ah, man, I've been eating
You've been
because I
eating too
wasn't
much. You've
paying.
been eating at the lot to get the
Yeah.
protein
And
that
I
you
was like,
want.
no
Yeah,
wonder why it felt like I was working hard.
totally. Yeah.
So the
Yes.
idea of an hour and eating a quarter of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, like that's enough, I think, where I would feel good and then not feel disgusting. Because that's the other piece is that you do like when you're getting into these longer distances, and Lord knows I have not run that far. I've done 13 miles is my tap out point. Actually, it's 11, and then I just drag myself the extra 2. But for the bike, I've been out there for long periods of time, and my fueling is generally messed up. And now, because I am a woman of a certain age and I've learned about protein, one of the things I realized is that I wasn't eating enough and it was bad. And I now all my bad rides have an explanation that I just wasn't getting because I thought, oh, because again, there's not enough guidance, right? You just go out and you ride and you listen to your buddies and they're usually wrong, but you're like, oh, so and so, it seems to work fine because everybody's body is different.
Hmm.
And so I was thinking I needed more carbs, and actually I wasn't doing any protein because I would get up in the morning and I'd have like an egg and some toast and maybe a little bacon.
Hmm.
And then I'd go out and try to ride 50 miles. And now I'm all, damn, an egg is 7 grams of protein.
Okay.
And then you throw in the bacon and a little bit more, maybe if I have toast and like sourdough, yeah, you get like 2 or 3 grams of protein. So it's like I'm trying to do 50 miles on 12 grams of protein. And no wonder why after an hour and a half, I'm a complete disaster and like wanting to cry, going up a little uphill or something like that
Oh my
because
God.
I had no fuel. But that's the ignorance of a lot of athletes because, especially, I was a softball player. So, I mean, we didn't eat the right way when I
Hmm.
was in college. I was in college in the 80s and the 90s and we sucked. We were like, let's go to McDonald's. And then we go to McDonald's and that was our fuel. Our games are a lot shorter. You're not out there for a long time. I don't know if you were fueling tremendously for golf. Probably
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain sports where like that fueling aspect isn't important at all, right? It's more about it's about, getting there and then the recovery after you do the event. And a lot of it is more hydration than anything else. But when you're doing these endurance sports, nutrition is so key. Yeah, so
It
I mean,
It is key. It is key. I'm glad you brought that up. And as well, while we're on the endurance sport topic, for your athletes out there, it's something that you kind of need to train to. This was actually, like I said, I've been a professional athlete, I was a professional cyclist for 15 years, and I ate when I thought I needed to eat. But I wasn't as strategic as I was at this last race that I did, and I spent 2 months training my gut to absorb the fuel. So I'd literally take my watch and I put a 30-minute timer on. And no matter what, when that 30-minute timer hit, I hit 100 milligrams of 100-gram goo and then hit the timer. And then for sure enough, when I was like at hour 3.5, hour 3:45, I was like, "Oh, I so don't want to eat because you're just tired and your gut gets exhausted." But sure enough, like I, took another 100 milligram goo, and I had like goo and I had a couple of other just like real food. And so when I was at the aid station, I was like, oh yeah, let me take some, I'll take that bread and I'll take a banana. And I just shoved it in my mouth. I'm like, real food is always really good. And so at the halfway point, I got that. But training your gut is a really important aspect if you decide that you want to. You can't just like go on a 50-mile ride and not have trained your gut before, and also knowing what fuel that you can eat during these rides. Like if it's really hot, you want something that's definitely a little bit more liquid calorie based, because the more weight that you put in your stomach, it's just really hard to digest. And having all your blood go to your gut when you're trying to digest food is not great. So more liquid calories is better for you for that endurance stuff.
Yeah, it's nuts though, boy, because when you make the mistake,
You're in the hole and you
yeah,
can't get out.
and you're done. Like, even if you eat something that makes you cramp
Mhm.
or something to that effect, I mean, you're screwed
Yeah.
because either you're gonna run the next whatever period of time with that cramp or you're gonna end up tapping out because your body just doesn't wanna tolerate the discomfort anymore.
Right. No, totally. And if your listeners want to, if they're interested in dairy free and looking at some plant based alternatives for fueling, Switch for Good has we Dotsie, our founder, and the International Olympic Committee combined resources to come up with a plant based playbook. You can get it, you can download it off our website or buy it on Amazon, switchforgood.org. And it basically tells you like the fuel, the protein, how long you're going, what foods has what protein, what carbs, and all the vitamins and minerals that you need in it too. So that's a great resource on our website.
And, honestly, I think that's even if you're not plant-based or you're not dairy-free, that may be a good resource for somebody to have anyway, because I don't know, like I said, if anybody's really out there talking about they talk about training all the time, right?
Right.
Like, how you have to do when you weight lift, when you ride, those types of things, but I don't know if everybody's talking about when you fuel and for what activity and what does that look like. Plus, I know, again, with triathlon, having real food with you, like, I remember a girlfriend, read something about beets,
Yeah.
and so then she sliced up beets, baked them, dried them, did whatever, and then so she had little bags of beets, and that would be what we would snack on, and I was like, "This is fantastic," something that's easy to carry, it's light, it's not a problem, it gives you energy, it has, the stuff that you need to get to either the next thing or whatever. But nobody was really at that time, everybody was really using, like, the artificial stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so her branching out and using natural foods, real foods that are actually easier for your body to digest was probably, the best thing.
Yeah, it is. And I always tell people like when they come to me and they're like, oh, I just need like cheap fuel, like milk, like dairy is cheap. It's 89 cents. I can get chocolate milk. And I said, I give the example. I was like, do you want to go, you've got your kid who's in baseball. Are you going to go to your kid's baseball coach and say, "Hey, my kid's strong and doing good because he's eating cheap food"? No, if you want to be an elite athlete, if you want to be an athlete and you have to treat your body like the temple that it's been given to you and, fueling with whole foods, fueling with good food and the best food that's available for you. And if you start looking at your fuel as an environmental responsibility too.
Mhm.
So, one of the reasons we do dairy, we start with dairy is because it helps with, reduce emissions. It's better for the earth. It's better for, the animal justice and stuff. So as a whole, just to start looking at your plate as environmental and sustainable was better for your body and better for the earth too.
So, looking a few years down the line,
Hmm.
what are some changes that you're gonna see in terms of your organization, in terms of, like, where we're heading in this dairy-free, more athlete-centered, world?
Well, believe it or not, we have been advocating to get plant milk in schools since 2003 when we started the Add Soy Act, which evolved into Fiscal, which is the Freedom in School cafeteria lunches for kids. So this is a big movement to get more people to have the option of having dairy-free alternatives. For 85 years, kids in the National School Lunch Program had one choice of beverage, and it was cow's milk. So many kids, and you probably can look in your fridge. I bet you most of your listeners will look in their fridge and there will be some kind of plant milk in there. It's 2026. The
Mhm.
need for cow's milk is so limited, but still in the National School Lunch Program, all they could have was cow's milk. So the House and the Senate have passed um, fiscal, and it is sitting on the president's desk to sign into law. And so, an 85-year mandate, kids will now have the option of a plant milk alternative, whether it be pea, soy, cashew, almond. That's huge. So, as far as making history and where Switch for Good is going down the line to just giving some food equality for people, that's a huge movement. And our organization is now launching an educational tour nationwide, and we're going to educate schools, teachers, administrators through. We're going to bring in Olympians, do like a presentation and talk to kids like, hey, Now you have the option of a plant milk in your school. So we're really getting excited to launch that into Q2 this year.
That's awesome. Yeah, I always remember, what was it, Jamie Oliver, when he went to a small town in West Virginia, which was deemed the unhealthiest town in the United States, and one of the things that they talked about was the milk,
Hmm.
and he filled an entire dumpster of sugar, and it wasn't because, of course, it's, your choice as a kid is white milk or
Chocolate
chocolate
milk.
milk or
Yeah.
strawberry milk.
Yeah.
They had strawberry milk. So nobody would take the quote unquote white milk. They would only do the flavored milk, and it's full of ton of sugar. And so he was trying to explain to them, like, this is not good for you.
Hmm.
And they weren't quite getting it because in education, especially, we're like horribly archaic. Getting things to change is so difficult in the education system. I really had like wishes and hopes with COVID because we learned a different way to educate students. And I really wanted to hold on to it. And we have kind of just ricocheted back to the old ways because everybody's like, I just wanted to go back to normal. And it's like,
Yeah.
because I like change, and I think that in order to prepare our youth for the future, they should know things, and they should know different things and be able to explore things. When I think back, my daughter's daughter went to a charter school, and we had a lot of people that ate alternative foods, and it was fantastic because it gave her an empathy that I don't know if every kid has, because she saw kids that, had Crohn's or had this and were unable to do dairy or unable to do gluten. And so she also got exposed to different foods that she would have never been exposed to because of the fact that all these kids were eating differently. And again, it just gave her a sense of empathy that was very different than, kids who are just like, oh, that's stupid. Why can't you just have milk? It's no big deal,
Right.
like that kind of thing. Or why can't you just have that bread? Or who cares if you're allergic to peanuts or, something horrible like that. But I feel like having choices when we have the technology is the appropriate way to go. And
Absolutely.
if people are
Absolutely.
going to feel better, why am I going to like crap on you? It's like,
And it's funny that you talk about the feel better. And one of the things that we're really conscious about at Switch for Good is that we're really educating the future, and we're pushing, we're really focusing on this, the fiscal act being passed and educating schools and stuff, because the children are our future, and they should be given they're educated at school. They should be given the opportunity to feel good and to learn about healthy choices, which I feel like have really declined. And we do have this movement about wanting to make America healthy again, but not necessarily feeding them strawberry milk may be a good decision. But, you're right. You're talking about your daughter, and culturally, we definitely have different things going out there. But if our kids feel better in school, they'll do better in school. So it's nice. And like I said, it's 2026. Like, kids should have more choices. And if we give more choices and educate the kids the way we want to do with this educational tour, they can make decisions and educate their parents at home. I'm inspired. We have a Campus Action Now program where students come and do an internship with us to learn about environment and sustainability acts and we help them, show them that dairy is a really good way to start. And they do some projects like they're trying, some of these college kids, they go into the local coffee shop trying to get them to drop the milk upcharge of, 50 cents to $1.50, because not everybody wants cow's milk in their coffee. So I'm inspired by how much they learn and how much they want this environment and sustainability and having the choices, because we want to make the world a better place, and everybody should have the opportunity to feel better and to be welcomed with whatever is going on with their body, whether they're gluten-free, dairy-free, or they're vegan, they're ethical. Everybody should be accepting of whatever's on the plate. I'm completely plant-based. I never look at someone's plate and judge them. It's their body, their choice. I just share the knowledge that I have when I invite people to my home. There's only plant products, and they're like, "This is really good. Is this is this vegan?" I'm like, "Do you think because I'm eat vegan that I eat like crap?" And so I've changed more people's minds about what plant-based tastes like just by inviting them into my home and into my community, which we, hope to continue more with Switch for Good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like that because I know for me, one of the other things that they always offer at the end of races is beer, and I don't drink,
Oh, yes, yes, I get it.
but I like beer. Like, I like the taste of beer, but, I mean, you wanna talk about an inflammatory response, like,
Right.
it's a nightmare for me, and so when they started offering alcohol-free beer,
Mhm.
I don't know why there's a difference for me, like, physiologically, but there's a difference. I don't respond the same way. I do not get as congested. I don't, and then I don't have to deal with the after effect of it,
That's
of being,
fantastic.
whatever, but it really makes people uncomfortable that I don't drink.
Isn't that crazy?
And
And they judge you for it. They're like, "Wait a
hell
second.
yeah.
I know that I mean, it's a poison. Like, you get to choose whether you want to put this poison in your body." And I feel like I never judge people for I've actually done some in my past, I've done some bartending and I'll do a wedding and somebody will come and be like, "Can you make me something that looks like I'm drinking?" I was like, "I got you all night, honey." I'll just like do a little soda water, do a little lime, and just making them more comfortable because everybody should have you should want if you don't want that and you want to feel good, you should have that. You should have that choice.
Right. And that's ultimately what you all are doing, and
Mhm.
hopefully more people will continue to do, is just giving people choices and normalizing it
Totally.
and not making it, you're a pariah. And I appreciate that.
I appreciate you saying normalize it because that's one of the things we did when we influenced Starbucks to drop the upcharge. Our goal was to just normalize plant milk and not make it such a like, hey, they're getting plant milk. It's $1.50 upcharge and like announcing it. It's like, I can't really digest milk, so I don't want it in my drink. So thank you for mentioning that. We do want to normalize that. So yeah, that's our goal with Switch.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. How do we get in touch with you?
Easy enough. You can find me personally on our staff webpage, switchforgood.org. You can also sign up to be a Switch for Good athlete and you can take a gut health quiz, a lactose intolerance quiz, seeing how you are with dairy products at switchforgood.org. And you can also follow us on Instagram at Switch for Good. And it's switch the number 4 good.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dana. Appreciate you. Enjoy.